All right, welcome everyone to this Q&A. Again, want to welcome everyone to this Q&A. Someone sent me something recently. Actually, I've had a number of people send me things recently. Basically venting about the difficulty of conversion, right? In general. So, there's a question that gets asked. Sort of dealt with this in my a little bit, or maybe a few different times in a spiritual group coaching that I've been doing, and that is basically what happens. We put our best foot forward a lot of times. That's our obligation, and we get slammed, or it becomes very difficult, or I'm trying to go in the right direction, right? I'm trying to go in the right direction, and seemingly stuff happens. Whether you do it to yourself, it happens for other people, right? So, there's a fundamental principle that everyone has to remember. And that is when a person hits a certain level, when they understand they're not a potato farmer anymore in Idaho, right? No offense. Anyone who's a potato farmer grew up in Idaho. But again, basically someone, grew up not knowing very much, about Judaism, right? What happens? Right? What happens? Um, usually, usually, um, the dynamics change. Now, what does that mean? The dynamics change. Like a person comes to, again, use conversion as an example. Person comes to realization they want to convert. They came out of Christianity, paganism, whatever. Then they got to find out they got to move, or they're in a community. It's not a very strong community, right? Or other things happen. Maybe they go to a community and the rabbi there willing to help them, blah blah blah, and then they leave, or something else happens, right? So again, why do these things happen? So if I had the magical formula, of why everything happened, I'd be world famous over here. But keep in mind, if it's something a person really wants, Mr. S, the evil inclination, the angel of death, whatever you want to call him, is not going to make it easy. Right? Anybody in this process, anyone coming back to Judaism is a Jew, same thing. What do you think? Family's going to welcome you with open arms? Oh, you came to this new realization. We're so excited for you. You know, we want to participate. We want to understand. Just the opposite. They curse you. They make fun of you. They say you've been brainwashed. Worth. Right? No one should think this process is going to be easy. Right? In any case, now why does it happen like this? Right? Why should it happen like this? You want to go in the right path. Why do you feel every second or every other second a person getting slammed? Right? What's the reason? Again, there are different set of variables going on. Meaning that God is going to look at a person in this process in a totally different way. Because before they were a potato farmer in Idaho, very good. Right? Before they didn't know anything. Before they didn't know anything. So what happens? So God judges them in a certain way. But now they have a greater realization. Now they want to be close to the king. Is coming close to the king, does that mean it's easy? Not easy. Not all. Not at all. Life is full of obstacles. Now, the problem is, people say the obstacles are too hard. Right? The obstacles are too hard. Okay, so no one says you have to convert. Right? No one says you have to jump through hoops. If you can't convert, you don't want to convert, that's fine. Right? God's not going to have any claims here, against the person. Right? If they couldn't convert. If they could and they didn't, okay, it's a different issue. But if it's something, as King Solomon says, it's something you want more than diamonds and rubies and gold and silver. It's going to come at a price. It's for sure going to come as a price. Nothing worthwhile in this world, and you can check your own lives. Nothing is worthwhile if it comes too easy. If it comes too easy, there's something wrong. Now, does that mean it has to be the hardest thing I've ever done in my life? No. But, we can't go to the other extreme, right? You can't go to the other extreme, but at the same time, this process is not supposed to be easy. Coming to God or coming close to God, again, comes at a price. And that price, unfortunately, or fortunately for most people, depends, depends how you look at it, that price could be in the form of family. Family could go by the wayside. Now, for some people, as we would always say, family's like an albatross. Okay, right? Family's just like, if you weren't close to family in general, they're not losing very much, right? But everyone's going to give their opinion. You've been brainwashed. You've been this. You've been that. A person may lose people along the way. That is potentially part of the price that a person may pay. So a person has to realize, this is part of the process. Now, based on that, what I say, it has to be so hard. A person loses everything. Or, it's so impossible, been tossed around this, that for years and years and years. I wouldn't go that far. But again, you have to plug away. You have to work. Right? You might have to move. There are a lot of things that might be uncomfortable that a person may have to do. Does that mean God doesn't want me to convert? No. Doesn't mean that. It means you have to show self-sacrifice. Self-sacrifice means you got to get out of Dodge. That's what it means. At some point, person has to get out of Dodge. You got to move, right? And for some people, that's an impossible feat. Okay, so you can't move. You can't move. The thing is, like a person would say, "I've tried this. I've tried that. I've done the other thing. I've worked so hard, and I'm getting slammed all over." Does that mean God hates me? No. Doesn't mean that. Because, if God really hated a person, he'd give you $1 million and tell you to scram. Right? He'd give you everything you need. Right? So, what goes on in our lives, the person has to realize. And a person has to see that if things are going wrong and I'm being tossed around, that means God's having a connection with you. If everything's going easy, there's no connection. Why do you think the Reform and Conservative movements have billions of dollars? Billions of dollars. And every Orthodox institution is in the red, usually. And they're usually like putting dimes together to try and make it work. And they have to go fundraising, travel, and this and that. Because people that God doesn't want to be in contact with, right? He doesn't want them to pray. He doesn't want them to do other things. So he gives them everything they need. They won't pray to him. They won't have a connection to him. If you want to have a connection to him, it comes at a price. Comes at a price. Mentioned before, the Korban Aron, that the Or Chaim HaKadosh brings down. What happened to Nadav and Avihu? Why did they die? Right? Many reasons the Gemara gives. Why potentially they died. Keep in mind, says Korban Aron, you want to be close to the king. There's a price. The closer you are to the king, the bigger price you pay. Right? So we'll ask the $1 million question. Is it worth it? Is it worth it? No, some people would say it's so hard, feel like I'm being squeezed like the bottom of the toothpaste. Not worth it. Not worth it. Gets claimed by parents, family, community. Could be rabbis, could be anybody. Have it hard on all sides. Again, if it was so easy and everything would be so beautiful, no, not worthwhile. Do I say it has to be so hard? No, but most people go through hardship. They go through a lot of hardship and a lot of pain. But again, I would ask the $1 million question. At the end of the day, having a direct connection with God, regardless what the end result is, regardless what a person goes through. The question is it worth it? Worth it. I would definitely say it's worth it. You toss around, you lose your money, this, you lose friends, family, everything you know. You like Abraham. But most people want fantasy. They want everything to be easy, everything to be smooth. So some people will say, no, I expect it's going to be hard. But all of a sudden, I just did this. I just jumped through hoops and fell flat in my face. Seemingly fell flat in my face. It doesn't look like it's getting any easier. No, I know a few people, moved to communities and didn't help them. Did not help them. In general, it should. In theory. It should be a big bonus. Huge bonus. But it doesn't necessarily go the way we plan. Now, why not? I can't answer that. Right? That I can't answer. There's a question also, what about my portion of the world to come? Yeah. What's God want from me? So who says a non-Jew, even if they don't convert, doesn't have a portion of the world to come? If they keep the Noahide laws. And even if they transgress the Noahide laws, but they repented, they can have a portion of the world to come. It's going to look the same as the Jews? No, they have less mitzvahs. A lot less mitzvahs. Yeah, this is a big misnomer. God just wants to kill me. God doesn't want me to have a portion in Torah. Why not? And even a person can't convert. That means you don't have a portion in Torah? How does that mean that? Doesn't mean that. Not everyone merits to convert, even if they want to. If they really want it so bad. Less than 20% finish the process. Even if they're accepted by a rabbinical court. So it means it's not easy. And only the few survive. But that doesn't mean, even if a person doesn't convert, it doesn't mean they're not going to have a portion of the world to come. And Jews that come back to Judaism don't have it any easier. They're Jewish, okay. It's easier for them to be in the Jewish community, fine. But when it comes to family and other things, they don't have it easier. They have it just as hard. I know a friend of mine, became religious, pretty much in college. Became an Orthodox Jew. His parents totally cut him off. What happened to being open-minded? Totally cut this person off. His father never met his wife and his kids. Yeah, he passed away. His mother got to meet his wife and his kids. They lost. They lost out. This person feels bad about the situation. It is what it is. Can't change it. They're not interested in having, that type of connection. Okay. They made their choice. Yeah. But he's gone through the entire Torah, entire Talmud more than once. Big rabbinic scholar. Is he willing to give that up? No. Things don't go the way you plan. There's a price to pay. Some pay a more serious price, some people less serious price. But along the way, it's going to be hard. There's just no way around it. Some people have it harder, some people have it easier. Some have it anywhere in between. Why do some people have it really, really hard, make it almost impossible? I have no idea. Could be it's the source of their soul. They have to struggle more. God has to squeeze them more. Why? Don't know. Nobody gets off scot-free. There's no free lunch, right? That's the point. There's no free lunch. And what happens? The person wants to move, right? Let's say, a person wants to move. They can't, right? They can't. That's just the way it works out. Because, it happens. Person lives in a country, they don't make any money. Country's very poor. Yeah, they can't move. Happens. Right? That was happening to a lot of people. Okay? So they're not meant to convert. They're not meant to convert. There's the reality. You got to live in a Jewish community, bottom line. You got to get there somehow if you want to convert. You can't get there or whatever. Person, let's say, on fixed income, other things. Okay. God's not going to hold that against you if you can't do it. But that doesn't mean you don't have a portion of the world to come. That doesn't mean you can't keep the no-hide laws. It doesn't mean you can't learn. You got to learn what's appropriate. Right? What's appropriate for non-Jews, can't do that. Right? You can't go against what the no-hide laws are. Meaning you can't do more. You got to keep what you're allowed to keep. You don't straddle the line. But that doesn't mean in any way, shape, or form, well, yeah, God hates me, doesn't want me to have a portion of the world to come. Well, what my catcher? What is the connection? The person's going to have a portion of the world to come regardless. So long as they do what they're supposed to do. And even if they went against the no-hide laws, they're liable for death penalty, they can repent. There's repentance. But again, we make the bed we lie in. We got to work. We have to work. Look at all the trials Abraham went through. God's like, hey, what do you think of my covenant? Beautiful covenant. He had it very hard. See, he put into the world the ability of Mesiras Nefesh, right? Of self-sacrifice. And he went through a lot. He gave us the ability to fight against this, right? But it's hard. Who likes to fight against family? I don't know too many people who like to be confrontational, not even me, right? I will be if I have to. If people are going to say stupid things, either I'll just let it go, I'll answer or whatever, but nobody likes to go through it. Nobody likes to be put down. Nobody likes to be made fun of. It's part of the deal. It's part of the process. Some have it more, some have it less. No one gets off scot-free. Usually. I know some people had it much easier. Okay. And how people had it really hard. And everywhere in between. It's to be expected. 100% it's to be expected. I know someone's on fixed income. I mentioned this story before. They're on fixed income. They went across the country and they're in a van like 10 times to move because they couldn't afford a moving company. Like 10 times. It's like 30,000 miles. Figure out that in kilometers. And in gas. Yeah, they were able to do it. They did it. Yeah, it came with a lot of self-sacrifice. A lot of self-sacrifice. Person wants to know, why did God make it this way? I don't. Everyone's guess is as good as mine. Yeah. But the real question really is, does this mean God doesn't want me to convert? Yeah. Person moved to a community, in contact with the rabbi, very good, and then he moves. They moved and then he moved. Now there's nobody there. What does God expect? Yeah. Is that a sign he doesn't want me to convert? No. Doesn't necessarily mean it's a sign for that. Person got knocked down. You got to pick yourself up, figure out what to do. Well, it doesn't mean God saying, nope. See, we're very quick to look at signs. It's also a mistake. We're very quick to say, oh, look, this happened, that happened. So it must be this or that. Could be, right? I'm not going to say not. Could very well be. The sign is what it is, but doesn't necessarily mean that's the case. I know the story of a great rabbi was doing that, had a doubt about whether continuing, a certain job that he was doing. Didn't feel like he was getting that much out of it, even the people that he was teaching or whatever. So, and went to ask the rabbi what to do. And he said, if you're, gaining or whatever, you should leave. You don't have to necessarily, stay in this position or whatever. But then, father of one of the students came up to him and said, you understand the class you're giving. You saved my son. You totally saved my son. And I owe you my life and this and that. So then now he had a doubt. Now we had a doubt. What was the doubt? Maybe that's what he's there for. He didn't like necessarily what he was doing, different things, whatever it was. But he said maybe that's a sign. Maybe that's a sign he should stay. But there were other reasons he wanted to leave. Yeah. So back to his Rabbi, said, is that a sign? He said, no. That's not a clear-cut sign that, oh, this is what you have to do. There are other reasons. There are other reasons, good reasons, why you don't want to be there. Okay. Because of one person you're going to stay, that's the reason you should stay. Who says? Now, how would we look at it? Maybe we'd say, stick it out. You're doing such great work with this person. This person's really benefiting. So stay. Even though there are other things going on. Okay. And what did he do? He left. Even though he's having this great effect on one person. Change their lives for the good. Okay. That wasn't enough to keep them there. But we in our short thinking may say, that's a sign. That's a sign you should stay. Who says? It may look like that, but who says? What we see doesn't necessarily mean that's the reality. So if a person's jumping through hoops and now it's much more difficult, even though they moved, that doesn't mean, A, now that they're stuck, they're still not stuck, potentially. And B, it doesn't mean that God's saying no. I'm not saying that. But we're not saying that. Yeah. But again, we don't think the bigger picture. That's why, these type of things, person, needs to go to someone well-versed in these things. Right? It's the reason why I have a mentor. Say, oh, looks like this, looks like that. The person can say, not at all. They're much more objective. They have a lot more knowledge. They say, who says? Right? At some time I've been praying for a certain thing, for a couple of years. Should I keep praying for it? Shouldn't keep praying for it. I don't know what God wants. I get slammed every second. Every second, the person's gotten slammed. Health-wise, financially, many, many things. Family-wise, all three together. Poster child for when someone wanted to convert, getting slammed all over the place. Yeah. The person says, what does God want from me? My answer was, he wants you to persevere and keep going. Moshe Rabbeinu didn't give up. God told him you're not going to enter the land. More than 500 prayers. He's still praying to let him in. And what does God say? Stop praying. If he prayed one more time, he would have got in. So it could be a person just has to keep plugging and plugging and plugging. Doesn't matter. The door's going to open eventually. Something's going to change. It's not going to stay this way forever. Right? The Ramchal says that clear. Even if a person's going through a difficult time, whatever, doesn't mean forever. Different levels here. I told the person, I said, listen, with everything you've gone through, look at you're not the same person. Your emunah and bitachon has gone off the charts. Your faith and belief in God is so strong, it's off the charts. Way off the charts. They think differently. They look at the world differently because of what they've gone through. Yeah, they've gone through a lot of adversity. Okay. Very true. I'm going to disagree. A lot of adversity. Yeah. So you can ask the question, that's what they were asking. What does God want here? Try this didn't work. Try that didn't work. Yeah. Well, what does God want? So my answer was, he wants you to continue. He wants you to work on your emunah. He wants you to flex those muscles. No matter what happens, you're the Rock of Gibraltar. You're still coming, like a pit bull. You're just gonna grab on for dear life. And you're gonna keep saying the mantra: "Ain't old Mavado. God's the one in charge. He's the one. There's no mikra, ain't teva boilam. There's no chance happening. There's no what do you call it? There's no nature in the world. Everything is God." Right? Keep saying it over and over and over again. It has an effect. It has a huge effect. So this person's emunah is off the chart. That's not worth anything. I get all this difficulty. True. Look what it did to your life, though. Ruined things in other ways. Good. Made life very, very hard in other ways. True. Very, very true. But look what it did over here. This person can end up speak in front of others and say, this happened, that happened, the other thing happened. 20,000 things happened. And this person's still strong as fire. And people ask, how can you still be strong as fire? Because that's the mantra. The mantra is God's in charge. I'm doing whatever I can do. So could be, very well being punished for sins, other things. Very good. How can a person be so strong and get knocked down all the time because it's only him and God in the world? Right? It's only him and God in the world. And God's the one in charge. And because God's the one in charge, who am I to question? Who am I to question? Aren't there 1.5 million reasons why I should be punished and tossed? Yeah. We don't do this right, that right. The Bible says we don't do a third of the things that we're supposed to do, half the things we're supposed to do. Right? You want to see where you're really holding, as I always say, right before you go to sleep, before your head hits the pillow, think about what you did during the day. Just think about what you did. Who you talked to, how you interacted with others, right? Did you pray if you had an obligation to pray? Did you make blessings? Yeah? Did you learn? Right? And be brutally honest. Be brutally honest. And what's the answer here? The answer is you don't deserve to get out of bed. That's the answer. Because we spit in God's face on a daily basis, the way we act, the way we think. All these different things. It's a miracle we're alive. Miracle we're alive. I don't think there's any question. Yeah, day in and day out. So now someone wants to say, well, life's not fair. Really? And you're doing everything in your power. You're doing everything in your power here. Let's say they are. Okay. How short are they coming to what God expects of them? So you're saying it's not fair, so big deal. Okay, so I won't do anything. Yeah. I'm going to get tossed around anyway, so I won't do anything. The person's building themselves. That's the whole point. They're building themselves stronger and stronger. Because they're tossing you around for no reason. We don't know the reason necessarily. Right? But I would say in general, it's because of what we do. Yeah? It's because of how we think. And how corrupted the way we think is. And how corrupted what we do. So you think God's going to understand we're not perfect, God has mercy. You're right. But imagine I put on my funny George Burns glasses, put on my funny mustache. We're playing God here. Right? You keep the universe, everything together. You keep nature together. The earth doesn't go so close to the sun, doesn't go so far back. God's keeping everything, together. You're keeping everything together. And you look around and see what people do. You see what the people who are supposed to serve you the best, see how they act. Right? See how they act. You're going to ask the question again? I don't think you're going to ask the question again. You're going to say, I deserve to zap them. That's how you pray to me. That's how you make blessings. This is what you do. This is how you show appreciation. If we were all playing God, we'd zap everybody. That's just because you're in a bad mood. You'd zap them. Right? Give an example. Cain and Abel bring sacrifices. Right? Abel brings the best of his flock. Right? God comes down and eats it up. And he sees that God, the God was proud of him, what he did. So Cain says, I'll also give a sacrifice. What did Cain put on an altar? Right? What are the commentaries tell? Well, it's flax. It'd be like giving dandelions. So imagine, 3-year-old comes home to his mother, dirt in a plastic cup, bunch of dandelions. Smells, so beautiful. Thank you so much. I'm going to water it. I'm going to put it on the windowsill. It's going to grow. Unbelievable. Thank you so much. Imagine if a husband gave that to his wife. So look, honey, look what I brought for you. Whole bouquet of dandelions. What's she going to do? She's going to throw it at you like you would deserve. Keep a bunch of dandelions. God says God wants them to repent. So God says, why are you so upset? And, why are you looking down? Because they understood. They understood what happened. He got rejected. Okay. So why'd you give him the benefit of the doubt? At least he gave sacrifice. He knew to give a sacrifice. He knew God should be praised that way, so he gave a sacrifice. You give the bottom of the barrel? This is how you praise me? Right? God said, okay, I'll give you credit. He gave me something very good. Right? Very good. If that was us, we'd say, what are you, a joke? That's how you show appreciation? You give me a bunch of stinking dandelions? That's what you did? That's your appreciation? You made a blessing. You didn't think of my name. You didn't think of where you were. You're walking around. You're doing other things. So, wow, what a praise. Then he can say, what do you mean? Person made the blessing. Person mentioned God's name. Yeah. They recognize him. Well, aren't there a lot of levels? Yeah. You tell me there are a lot of levels. Very good. If you're doing something that below a basic level, you get credit. Kaufman would say you get a C minus, you get some credit. But for goodness sakes, why does God have that kind of mercy day in and day out? Doesn't God get a little bit ticked off? What do you think he gets ticked off? Well, you're serving him to the best of your ability. That's the best you got. That is the best you have. That's what I would say. I'm sure other people would say different, other things. But, so you say, cut me some slack. I'm human. You're right. I understand you're human. But you get greater potential than that. You get much greater potential. Why do you concentrate when you say my name? Why are you walking around when you're making blessings? You fulfill your obligations. Not the best way to do it. You say, I'm tired. I'm this. I'm that. I'm not thinking. You're right. First time person does it's one thing. Second time, whatever. Third time, fourth time, fifth time, 10th time, a billion times doing things by rote. That's akin to spiritual death. Don't you think God get a little bit ticked off? Maybe. But I'm doing to the best of my ability. So you got to keep doing to the best of your ability. You got to be better. You got to keep growing. You got to keep striving. Very good. But see, we're quick to say, I'm doing better than that. Had an 18-year-old tell me once, I'm doing better than 95% of world Jewry. So let's say that's true. I may disagree, but let's say that's true. But you get greater potential. You're holding better than most people living in Sodom. Beautiful. Yeah. You're holding better than this transgender generation. Wow. It's a good thing I'm sitting down. Otherwise, I would have fallen over. That's beautiful. Beautiful. Look where you're holding in the world. Compared to who? Compared to a degenerate world? A world that's flushing itself down the toilet very quickly? Going further and further to a cesspool? That's what you're comparing to? God, you cut me a lot of slack. Depends where you're holding. Depends what you've done. I think some people, I'm not going to say miss the boat. I'm not going to go that far. I understand they're in pain. I understand they're going through difficulty. But don't you think, for goodness sakes, there's reason why? Maybe we're not doing everything we could according to our potential. We have a lot of room to grow. Doesn't God understand that? Sure. But at a certain point, mercy is not forever. Mercy does not last forever. God can say, I'm sick and tired of the way you do this. I'm gonna knock you around. I'm gonna make you see I'm the only being out there that can help you. Do something to help yourself. Don't just say I'm gonna go through the motions. Do something. Work. Don't just rest on your laurels. Don't just think, it's going to be given to me on a platter because look what I'm doing, holding better than 95% of the world. Who cares, even if it's true? If you got so much greater potential, what are you talking about? Hold of others says you don't come close to doing what we're supposed to do. This is mercy that God has. You're going to say, this is mercy. What does it look like when he's angry? Oh, we saw what it looks like when he was angry. October 7th, when God was angry. Seriously angry. Yeah. During the Holocaust, other pogroms, that's serious anger. What we're going through today, I'm not going to say it's nothing. It's not nothing. Yeah. But keep it in perspective. We live in a, I deserve this generation. Everything's coming to me. I sit and learn. I do other things, holding better than most people. That could very well be true. But again, at what level? So you're going to say, what do you do in such a situation? You keep working. You keep striving. No matter how many times you get knocked off, you're not get knocked on the head. You keep going. That's the point. You keep going. You try and be better. You try and learn more. Try and learn more in depth. A lot of things. Got to work on character traits. And one serious character trait that has to be worked on in this generation is the fact that we don't deserve anything. Chochmah says, right? Why do we get rewards? Right? See a lot of questions. I'll deal with it. Right? Why do we get reward? Mishnah Pirkei Avos says, this is what you're born to do. So even if you learn a lot of Torah, you shouldn't think you're so great. Why not? Because this is what you're supposed to do. This is what you're supposed to do. Right? The Chochmah says, why do you get rewards? Because it's a chesed. God's doing an act of loving kindness. Do you deserve reward? Do you deserve a hoodsie? Right? Bostonians out there know what a hoodsie is, right? Right? Dixie cup made of, chocolate vanilla ice cream, right? This wooden spoon made from hoods. That was the company. It called it a hoodsie. So you're going to say, deserve a hoodsie. Look, I made a blessing. I deserve reward. What do you deserve reward? That's what you're supposed to do as a Jew. That's what you're obligated to do. You deserve a hoodsie? You deserve reward? Why should God give you reward? Why? What's the simple answer? Simple answer says the Chochmah because it's a chesed. He says, you're right. You don't deserve any reward. You don't deserve any reward at all. It's a chesed. Yeah. Yeah, a lot of questions here. 1 second. Let's deal with them in order. Somebody says, insects, whether alive or dead, right? Their blood substances, spider web, etc., cause tumor the same as unclean animals, unclean mammals. Yeah. We don't have that same level of impurity today, right? We don't have a temple in Jerusalem. We don't have, a lot of things that we don't, that level of impurity we don't have. But in theory, it's not just animals that die, that a person would come in contact with it, would touch it or whatever, would end up, it's not just animals you would end up impure. Anything, right? Kill a fly should be impure. Kill a wasp, fish, right? Should be same level. Should be same level, regardless of whether they're mammals or not, right? I don't think it should make any difference, right? If we're talking about that level of impurity, at the time when the temple existed, that's a different issue, right? That is a different issue. Somebody here asked, so musical mouse is a stick, right? So not completely guilty. Of course they're guilty. Why are they not guilty? Hitler Yimach Zichro, right? Called for the extermination of Jews, 6 million people. He's not guilty? Why is he not guilty? He came up and did it. The Egyptians, made the Jewish people's lives a misery. 80% of them didn't get out of Egypt. So yeah, God used them as a stick. Very good. Right? Did he want them to do it? No, they came and did it willingly. So why are they not guilty? They're guilty. 100% they're guilty. They have free choice. They didn't have to come and do it. Someone else could have done it. You could have had, I don't know. You could have had the Romans. You could have had the Greeks. They're also guilty. Didn't God know that they were going to do it? Sure. God knew that they were going to do it. Very good. They're not. Why are they not guilty? They have free will. They're not robots. If they were robots, they were programmed. Yeah, then they're not guilty. The question where this comes in is God hardened Pharaoh's heart. If God hardened Pharaoh's heart, he takes away free will. You're right. And that's the question. And that's a good question, right? Because if he took away his free will, right? If he took his free will, how can he punish him? So the Rambam deals with it, Rasaji Gaon deals with it, right? How that can be. Yeah. But if a person has free will and they use it for terrible things, like Hamas did, like, anyone who's an anti-Semite does, all the pogroms, the Holocaust, why are they not guilty? They are 100% guilty. God used that person against the Jewish people. Very good. Could have used somebody else? Could have used somebody else. They didn't have to go out and do it. The fact that they did it, they're guilty. Their free will wasn't taken away. Once you tell me somebody's free will is taken away, it's a different issue. That's a totally different issue. Totally different issue. But they are guilty. For sure they're guilty. Because they have free will. If they wouldn't have free will, you got a good question. Yeah? I mean, that question's answered also. Because even if God took away their free will, he can still punish them as much as he wants to make a point. Right? There are different ways of looking at that question. But if someone comes and does something, a tremendously bad thing, right? Now, you can say, God used that person to get to you. Okay, very good. But that person did something horrendous, and they're guilty, right? According to Jewish law, according to secular law, they're guilty, yeah. We'll make it very easy. Why are they not punished? Why in the world shouldn't they be punished? God used them, true. They didn't have to do it. They had free will. They could not have done it. They easily could not have done it. Someone else could have done it. Right? You could add, I don't know, you could add any nation. You think, God used, look how many people, it takes to kill 6 million people. You have the Poles, you have the Croatians, Czechoslovakians before they split, right? You have the Russians, you have the Ukrainians, you have the Ukrainians. You got the Germans, can't forget the Germans. All these nations. Wow, God used them as a stick to get the Jewish people. They mass murdered people, tortured people. Yeah. Why would they not be guilty? It's because God used them as a stick. Someone else would have come and done it. If it wasn't them, if it wasn't the Poles, it would have been the Hungarians. I mean, it was Hungarians also. Right? If it wasn't the Hungarians, it would have been someone else would have come and done it. So even if one group didn't do it, another group would. So who's guilty? The one who did it. Just because God used them doesn't mean they're not guilty. Right? Definitely doesn't mean they're not guilty. If God had taken away the free will, that's a different issue. That is a different issue. Then you could, then the question is much stronger. Then the question is, okay, if you took away his free will, then you can't punish him. That, according to nature, is not fair. That we'd say is not fair. That I hear. Right? That, needs an explanation. Right? That needs a good explanation. Because otherwise, why God do that? Right? In other words, it's got to be fair. He's got to be fair over here. So, if they're not doing what they're supposed to do, and God takes away the free will, he can't punish them. How can he punish them? Logically. Shouldn't be fair. Should not be fair. He should be able to punish them. Right? But he did. He did. It's a good question. Yeah. So I said they're on fixed income, just get rid of all the furniture. I don't know if you get rid of all the furniture. I mean, if you don't need the furniture, it's one thing. Then the poorest people had furniture. Homeless guy had all this rickety furniture. He probably could have sold some of it to, to make some money or whatever. But he kept this rickety furniture. Right? This person should have no furniture. I don't know. If it's furniture you don't need, different issue. A question of need over here. Do I really need it or I don't? Americans in general, they got a lot of stuff they don't need. Got a lot of stuff they don't need. Yeah, I don't know if Europe's any different. But, certainly in America, we collect things that, maybe we may think we need, we don't really need. So listen, if a person downsizes, they can see what they need, what they really don't need. So yeah, so if you tell me you don't really need it, okay. Doesn't mean you shouldn't have any furniture. Right? If you don't need it, yeah, you can sell it. Someone there says, I've heard a few times, that eating an insect could be hidden in salad causes many sins. What other could this be? I don't know. Eating a bug is like 6, 7 prohibitions, or 5 or 6 prohibitions in one shot. right? So for a Jew, it dulls the spirit. That I know for sure. That's what the Gemara says. Eating on kosher dulls the spirit. Dulling the spirit means it's like you're apathetic. It's very hard to teach someone Torah that eats his garbage, right? Because they don't want to listen. They're apathetic. Someone who's apathetic, just about impossible to work with when it comes to Torah mitzvahs. What other sins? I don't know. That's the main sin. That's the main sin. That it causes other sins. I mean, you could tell me that if a person eats something unkosher, it dulls the spirit, right? So it makes the person apathetic. They don't want to keep Torah mitzvahs. Is that going to lead to other sins? Sure. It's going to lead to worse sins. Dulling the spirit means you don't want to have anything to do with Torah mitzvahs. Now, if you don't want to have anything to do with Torah mitzvahs, what are you going to do? You spit in God's face. You do all kinds of terrible things. Whether it's immorality, whether it's stealing, whether, any number of things. Could lead to a lot of different things. Why? Because you don't have any rhyme or reason. You're not answering anybody. You feel I don't have to answer anyone. I can do what I want as long as I don't get caught. So dulling the spirit means you have no connection. You have no connection to morality. So if you have no connection to morality, of course it's going to lead to other things. Specifically, it can lead to anything. Right? It doesn't have to be something specific. Right? It can lead to many things. It could lead to immorality. It could lead to stealing. It could lead to lashon hara. It could lead to a million things. Right? Dulling the spirit. Secular Jews that I know that don't keep kosher. Yeah, that don't keep kosher. Tell you a lot of things they do. They curse. A lot of them. They speak lashon hara. They don't keep Shabbos. A lot of them are immoral in different ways. I mean, there's a huge list. A huge list filled with the transgression. Right? When you're apathetic, you don't feel you have to answer to anyone. So you do what you want. You have no moral compass. Right? So the more you do that, the more apathetic you are, the more sins you're going to do. Which sins? Open book. Probably transgress everything under the sun. There are things you won't transgress, right? Right? If you had a list of 150 things, you probably transgress at least 100 easily. Easily, if not all of them. Why wouldn't you transgress anything? It's just going to lead you to transgress more. Does it matter what you transgress? No, some will be more severe, some will be less severe. Right? That's what apathy does. That's what apathy does or has the potential to do. That's why someone coming back to Judaism as a Jew, first thing they have to do is stop eating non-kosher. So otherwise they can't listen to Torah. Very hard for them to listen to Torah. And they should start keeping Shabbos. Because then they understand God's the one in charge of the world. Right? It's a much more severe sin. Much more severe sin. So you want to ask, what other sins could it be causing? Every last sin. I just mentioned a whole lot of them. Back to demons. Yeah, kind of demons that appear human and live among us. We have no idea. I don't think they live among us today. Right? The power of demons have been dramatically reduced. So we have no contact with them. Gradually, we have no contact with them. Do they know that the demons? Do they know that they are demons? Yeah, they probably do. If a person is reincarnated, as it's brought down, someone's reincarnated into an animal, they know they're reincarnated into an animal. They know they're an animal, even though they're a human soul. Right? So if they're anything else, if they're like half human, half angel, like a demon, if they would, let's say, be turned into a demon, let's say, they would know. Right? As far as I understand, they would know. They would probably know. Right? Are they just, again, they have certain character traits like humans. Certain character traits like angels. But again, bottom line is, today that power has been greatly reduced. Right? The Gemara says in a number of places where rabbis came in contact, with demons, they were very destructive, extremely destructive. But I've heard brought down that their power today has been extremely weakened, and we don't have contact with them anyway. So it's really a moot point. But if you're going to ask, okay, if a person was, let's say, put back into this, I don't know, type of body that's, half human, half angel, so to speak, do they know that they're a demon? Yeah, they probably do. Right? Like I said, I have seen brought down that a person was reincarnated into an animal, they know. 100% they know they're an animal. Right? So why wouldn't they know that they're a demon? Probably the same thing. I would say it's probably the same thing. They wouldn't just programmed DNA because, they're human, right? They have certain character traits of humans as well. That's what I would say on that. Someone said, genuine question. Yeah, I think they're all genuine questions. All good questions. Trying to imagine waiting 7 years, waiting for kosher base, then yeah, that's a problem. There are a lot of places talking about conversion that do not have a proper basin to convert them. Yeah, that's a problem. And they won't bring them, and they won't necessarily bring a proper basin, proper rabbinical court. What's the reason? What's the reason? Because the country could be very small, the community is very small. It's not worth it. What are you going to convert somebody if they can barely live a Jewish life, right? That's probably the main reason. Someone says, I got a general question. Do I consider your religion the correct one? Yeah, we do. Right? Not arrogant, just curious. Because I did a number of videos on Tanakh Talk about about this. So if you go to or you go to Beyond Orthodox Conversion Judaism, that's my YouTube channel, and you go to the playlist of Tanakh Talk. I did a whole video there. Why we believe we're the truth. Keep it. I'll just say like this. One nation has made a claim of a revelation in front of the entire nation. Now, when we say the entire Jewish nation, we're talking about, Exodus chapter 20. We're talking about 600,000 men between the ages of 20 and 60, not including women and children. It's about 3 million people. No other so-called religion makes any claim like that. Right? All of JC's miracles, how many people did he do in front of? Few? Muhammad's flight from Mecca to Medina, how many people saw it? How many people saw the miracles that he said that he did? A handful. That story of revelation has never been redone. Not according to any religion. It's never been done. Right? Not only that, I'll just mention that any other so-called religion, if you find a flaw in their book that it's not true, you find a mistake. Any mistake in that book, then it can't be true. Plenty of mistakes in Christianity, plenty of mistakes in Islam, plenty of mistakes in other things also. If you find one mistake in the Torah, right? The Torah makes a claim. Let's give one example. Torah makes a claim that there are certain animals that, in order to be a kosher animal, you have to chew your cut. They have to chew their cut and have a split hoof. There are certain animals that have one character trait, not the other. Right? You got a pig, you got certain type of rabbits, whatever. That's it. Those are the exceptions. How did Moshe Rabbeinu know that? Was Moshe Rabbeinu Dr. Doodle and he played with the animals, right? How would he know such a thing? How is it possible to know such a thing? And he also said that anytime you have a kosher fish, it's going to have scales and fins. If you find a fish that has scales and not fins, then yeah, it's not true. So, and not only that, any other religion, quote unquote, that goes against prophecy of Moses and says we're not chosen anymore or whatever, because God said Moses is the greatest of all prophets, got to listen to him. God gave a stamp of approval. So because God gave a stamp of approval, can't come out against it. So any other religion, quote unquote, that comes out against him can't be true. Right? Those some ants, go watch my video over there. Go to my playlist on Tanakh Talk controversial issues. I went through a lot of issues why we believe it's true. If they force Hamas soldiers by death penalty to go to war, they're still 100% punished by Hashem. If they're forced, everyone's got free will. Everyone's got free will. A non-Jew, by the way, is not allowed to kill. Right. If they go to war, they have to fight a war, it's one thing. Yeah. Really, they're not allowed to kill. So if they say, listen, go kill this person or you're going to be killed. Now, it's very interesting They're not liable. They don't have an obligation of sanctifying God's name like a Jew does. But at the same time, they're not allowed to kill. Yeah, they're not allowed to kill. So they're guilty. They're guilty. They're still guilty. You know, even though they don't have to give up their life like a Jew would. If a non-Jew or a Jew would put a gun to a Jew's head and say, kill this person, we're going to kill you, you have to die. Right? Now, a non-Jew doesn't necessarily have that obligation, but they can't kill the person. There's no idea of sanctifying God's name by a non-Jew. It's a technical issue. It doesn't really matter. It's really a technical issue. Right? But at the end of the day, they're not allowed to kill. So who cares? They put a gun to your head or not. They don't have to give up their life for it, but they can't kill either. Right? So quote unquote, if they're forced, they're still liable. Right? They're still going to be liable. Somebody asked, what do you do when you travel combinations next to a church? Yeah. Meaning when we pray to the direction of Jerusalem, it looks like we're praying to the church. That doesn't matter. Right? That does not matter. Because if you can pray in a way where you're not looking directly at the church, fine. But even if you are, you have no intention. Church just happen to be there. Right? That shouldn't be a problem. That shouldn't be a problem. What if we eat near the church? It's also not a problem. Listen, there were people that wouldn't come within a certain range, of a church, but it doesn't mean you can't make a blessing there. Right? That doesn't mean that. Right? Let's say the only place to eat is right by a church. So if I turn my back and I make a blessing, is that a problem? Shouldn't be a problem. Right? And even if you're right in front of the church and the person made a blessing, then I don't know if that matters. I wouldn't say it's the greatest thing to do, but it doesn't nullify it. It doesn't nullify it. The person had an obligation to make a blessing. It's the only place to make a blessing, so that's where you make a blessing. Right? If it's a place, let's say there's a foul odor or something like that, that's a different issue. Right? But in such a case, that shouldn't be an issue. Should not be an issue. Well, the best way to know where to move. That's a hard thing. That's a hard thing. I would say you got to, I do have a video on different communities. The first thing I would say is you got to figure out what type of community you want to move into. Right? Then you got to see what's nearby or, whatever, and then speak to people and then go there. That's what I would say. But you got to figure out what type of community you want. You want an ultra-Orthodox community, a Hasidic community, you want a modern Orthodox community, you want Chabad. You got to figure out where you think you really fit in, and then try and speak to people in that community or go there and visit. That's what I would say. That's what I would say in general. Knowing where to move, close your eye. I prayed about this. A video came on about closing the eyes. I don't think it means anything. Closing eyes doesn't mean anything. Right? Yeah, again, you want to do it in practical terms. Practical terms means, what am I looking for? What type of community is going to fit my needs? So that you have to know what type of community is out there. And then you got to see, do I fit in that type of community or not? When using free will, is the choice done without using feelings? Feelings can confuse a person also. Right? Again, we have our own biases. Remember. So even though we have free will, how do we know, and this is a much bigger question we're not going to get into, but how do we really know that the choice I'm making is not the power of the evil inclination? So that's, first that's a serious question, and they're not sure, they should ask someone who's unbiased. Right? Because the person has their own biases. Right? You have to use your feelings. Who says you don't use feelings? You have to use feelings, but you have to make sure those feelings are genuine, whatever the decision is. Right? You want to make sure it's not coming from a bad source. Right? Because a person can think, oh, this is the right thing, and it's a disaster. Now, why is it a disaster? Why would it be a disaster? Because you didn't look into it enough. You had a certain bias. You closed your eyes to certain things that were obvious. Yeah? Or more obvious that you shouldn't have taken a risk, or whatever the case is. Person asks, 1 second. Controversial issues and beyond Orthodox conversion. Okay. Oops. Question is, we pray at Kivrei Tzaddikim, right? Graves of the righteous. Do we address Pidyon Nefesh note to Hashem or to the Sisadi? You don't pray to a righteous person. You do not pray to a righteous person. That's idolatry, right? So you're saying in their merits, in their merit because of who they are. Not that you're praying for them, to them. That's a big problem. Anyone who goes to any grave, a righteous person or just a family member, let's say Jewish family member, whatever, right? You can't pray to them. That's idolatry. That's 100%. That's 100% forbidden, right? So even a pidyon nefesh, even if you're gonna, let's say, dedicate a certain amount of money or whatever, in the merit of this righteous person, it's to God, not the righteous person, right? It would, that's what you should think. What can cause? 1 second. You wonder these mass murderers use free will? Of course they use free will. Bunch of wackos. Think anyone who's committed murder. They think they're doing the right thing. Yeah. They think they're doing the right thing. They're nuts. In different ways. They're convinced, brainwashed, who knows what. Yeah. Do they have free will? Of course they have free will. They have free will. You're going to say, well, God chooses this person to murder other people. The person has free will. They have free will. There are people out there, let's say, they kill people, stole from them, whatever, in jail, got caught again, got caught a third time. And they come out and say, I'm going to keep doing it. Why do they keep doing it? Because they do it. Because they're nuts. To take away somebody's life, you got something wrong with you. You got to say, oh, it's anger and this. Yeah, it could be from a lot of different things, but there's seriously something wrong. There's something wrong. What can cause apathy for someone who is so devoted? Person's lazy, right? If you're keeping kosher, if you're keeping kosher, you should not make a person apathetic, right? What can make somebody apathetic? They do things by rote. They don't think. They just keep doing things over and over again, and they keep sitting doing the same thing, sometimes worse, right? So even if you're so devoted, couldn't you have no connection to God? Yeah, right. I've seen people say, yeah, I only learned Torah, right? I learned Gemara, I learned this, very good. So, but you pray 3 times a day, don't you? As a guy, you got an obligation to pray 3 times a day. There could be people in this world that could be religious from birth, or even become religious later and have no connection to God at all. How's that possible? Don't they keep mitzvahs? Don't they say God's name 1,000 times, 1,000,000 times? So how can it be? Because they don't internalize the message. They're not constantly working on themselves. Someone wrote an article, and someone who gives classes in public, and basically said, I get into learning and this and that, but I don't feel anything. There's something wrong. There's something spiritually wrong with such a person. In other words, getting intellectual stimulation, they're able to inspire other people. For them, they feel nothing. That's a serious problem. So you ask me if they're so devoted and they know so much Torah, but they don't internalize the message. Korach didn't internalize the message. Joe's the most Rabbeinu. How can you not internalize the message? He was jealous. Other things killed him. Okay. Someone can be very much steeped in Torah and have no connection to God. That's the point. That is exactly the point. How can that be? Because they don't internalize the message. They're not living inspired. They look at Torah as like another academic subject, but they have no connection. That's the problem. That's essentially, I would say, is the problem. Does Satan represent low self-esteem? He doesn't represent it, but he can make a person feel like a piece of dirt. In other words, you're trying to keep Torah mitzvahs, and you feel with this, you feel with that, you feel like, why would God ever accept my prayers? I try so hard. Having low self-esteem, the Satan can just egg it on. He doesn't represent low self-esteem per se, but he can make a person feel like he's got no self-esteem for sure, right? We think it's coming from within, but yeah, that's part of the evil inclination also. Definitely part of the evil inclination. Someone asked, "You accept the Hillel 2 calendar system? Corresponds to divine appointment. When it was created, post-prophetic rabbinic Judaism era, we do it. We keep that calendar, right? So Hillel fixed the calendar before the temple was destroyed. So we out of 19 years, 7 out of 19 years, we have a leap year. Why? Because Passover has to bring in the spring. Sukkot has to be in the fall. So we go by lunar calendar, 11 and a half day difference between the lunar calendar and the solar calendar. Yeah. So if that's true, we're going to compensate. The Muslims don't compensate. We don't really care, but they don't compensate. They also have a lunar calendar, but Ramadan can be winter, spring, summer, or fall. They don't make any accommodations. Judaism, we have to make accommodations. Why? Because again, Torah says clear, Passover has to be in the spring. If I have an 11-day difference, 11 and a half day difference, or whatever it is, then I have to accommodate. So the question on the floor is, do we accept the calendar? Of course we accept the calendar. That's the calendar we use. Right? That exactly is the calendar that we use. Even if it's post-prophetic rabbinic Judaism, we hold by it. Right? Most everything we do is brought down by the rabbis. Plenty of things in the Torah that we do, but they explain how to do it. Torah has no explanation how to do it. Torah doesn't tell me how to keep Shabbos. Torah just tells me don't carry. Torah just tells me don't light a fire. Right? You're not allowed to cook. So what's a fire? Is a microwave fire? Is electricity fire? Does the Torah give me any definitions? Doesn't give me any definitions. Torah tells me, Leviticus chapter 23, I got to bring a nice smelling fruit in front of God on the holiday of Sukkot. What is it? I don't know. You think it's a quince? Someone thinks it's a pomegranate. Someone thinks it's a pineapple. Very good. Anyone going to think it's a lemon on steroids? It's a citron, right? It's an esrog. Where do we get that from? From the rabbi. Right? Deuteronomy chapter 17. You got to listen to what the rabbis say in every generation. Right? It says over there, you got to listen to the Kohen or the Levite. Every generation. Who's the Kohen and Levite in every generation? The rabbis. Right? So a lot of what we do. Got right to have an issue with it. Oh, we only hold according to what the Torah says. Yeah? So why the word tefillin? Torah doesn't tell me what tefillin are. It just says put frontlets between your eyes. How do they know what frontlets are? What is a frontlet? It says put a mezuzah on your gate. What's a mezuzah? Anyone know what a mezuzah is? If you didn't know what it was, you would know what it is. Right? You're gonna say, oh, but you listen to the Hillel rabbinics, and that's rabbinical after the prophets. Very good, yeah. We have an obligation to listen to what the rabbis say. The Torah goes that far to say if you don't listen to them, you get death penalty. Who else are we gonna listen to? How are we gonna know what to do if we don't listen to the rabbis? Yeah. Someone asked, wasn't no problem why people started thinking JC was God because he talked about when God said that I am, let me just see. I am the Moses, a misunderstanding. But I'm gonna go into Christianity. That's not even, keep in mind one thing. He wasn't as great as everyone thought he was. Certainly, as the Talmud depicts him. But he wasn't anything until 200 years later. So what do I care what they made him into? They made him into a false prophet. Very good. They made him into a false prophet. I would ask a little bit different. Why is so many Jews killed in his name over the last 2,000 years? More than anybody else. Killed in JC's name. Yeah. I don't know such a good answer. For some reason, he merited that a lot of people are going to be killed in his name. Yeah. So it doesn't really matter. Right? It really doesn't matter why he did, what he said, what the book says. It's a false book, period. That's really the bottom line. So my letter I write there, Hashem writes that it's true. Most people doing evil think they're doing good, right? Right? If someone says they're a good person, you could say, I wouldn't recommend it, but you could say, well, hit you, Yamashim over Zichron, his name, he blotted out Meirah. I also thought he was good. All these crackpots also thought they were good. Does that make this person more moral? No. Not at all. So, I'm not as bad as that. Yeah, maybe. But what's the definition of good? A lot of people think they're doing the right thing. They're doing horrific things. How they justify it? They justify it in many ways. Doesn't matter. Right? But you're right. A lot of people think they're doing the right thing. Good. So let them think. Let them think they're doing the right thing. How to fix apathy. Got to pray. A lot of, I would tell you, there are a lot of things we need to fix in ourselves. You got to read a lot of more, sir. You got to pray also. You got to pray that God should help you. That God should help you fix this, whatever it is. That's not a small thing. We just think, oh, it's magic formula. No magic formula. You got to work. Yeah, I've been looking for shortcuts for years. There are no shortcuts, right? I'll cut to the chase. There are no shortcuts. You got to work, even if it's hard. Even if you still make the same mistakes, you got to work on character development. But you got to pray. You got to ask God to help you. That's what you got to do, right? You got to want it more than anything else. You got to figure out ways how to keep that fire lit, how to keep living inspired. It's not easy. It's a lifetime of work. Yeah, a lot of people feel that, they keep doing the same things and they're working hard and this and that, very good, right? It's easy to get burnt out. It is very easy to get burnt out, but you got to keep plugging. You got to keep trying to live inspired as much as you can. It's not, again, is life easy? No, but that's what you have to keep doing. You have to keep working. That's, and try not to get burnt out, right? It's not so easy because then people relax their standards and they don't do very much. So you still want to be at a high level. You're doing that. That's, whatever. Like I said, it's a much bigger discussion. But I would say that you have to keep plugging away. You have to do things that learn things you enjoy to learn, not just because you're obligated to learn. Learn things that you're obligated to learn. That you enjoy to learn. And that'll help a little bit. That should hopefully help a little bit. If I'm not a convert yet, I'm not allowed to keep Shabbos. You're allowed to keep Shabbos, you just have to break it. You have to do something on purpose to break it. Right? You can keep it, you just have to break it on purpose. You can't just, a person will say, well, I make a lot of mistakes anyway. It doesn't matter. You got to do something on purpose to show you're not keeping it like Jews. Yeah, I'm going to stop here. I do this every Tuesday and Thursday. 10 o'clock Eastern Time, 5 o'clock Israel Time. Anyone has any questions, find me on Facebook at Chaim Kaufman. Beyond Orthodox Conversion in Judaism, orthodoxconversion.com. Beyond Orthodox Conversion in Judaism on YouTube. There I got Q&As, videos on Q&As, controversial issues I mentioned. Ethics of Our Fathers, Book of Leviticus. You want to send me an email, rabbichaimkaufman@gmail.com, RIBBICHAIMCOFFMAN @gmail.com, whichever good.